Hello, our lovely Girl Awakening listeners. Welcome to 2023. I'm Jo Hendy from the Sacred Sister Project.
I'm Amanda Parker of Mayala Organics.
Come with us as we journey into this week's Awakening episode.
I talk to a spirit. She comes in my dreams. She teaches me lessons.
Hello, Amanda.
Morning, Jojo. How are you today?
I'm really good. I know this is not going to go out on March the 1st, but it is March the 1st.
Yeah.
Yeehaw, new month,
Power
new numbers.
start.
Yeah. And a wonderful new guest. Woohoo!
Yeah, we've been waiting for this beautiful lady for a little while because she's busy.
She's hard to get hold of. We're so lucky we tied her down.
Yep. If it wasn't now, it would not be until the end of the year.
Yeah.
She's flying.
Exactly. Today we have the beautiful Elyse Cumerford. Elyse, do you own the Well Belly Clinic?
Yes, I do.
Yay. Okay.
I do.
So
She planted
Elyse
the
runs well.
I run well,
You
as
run
well as.
too. You run it. You're
Which is
the
it?
creator of it, and all of your passion, resides in here, which is really beautiful. The Well Belly Health Clinic,
Yes.
which is online. They have supported clients with a wide range of health issues, such as digestive issues, intolerances, allergies, hormone imbalances. We know all about those. Mental health issues, autoimmune conditions, environmental toxicity, skin problems, sleep issues, and more.
Pretty much covers everyone, doesn't
Does,
it? Like
yeah.
life today.
Absolutely. In her early 20s, she became fed up with trying every fad diet. Haven't we all been there?
Yes.
Supplement and practitioner she could find to no avail. She started eating real food in the hope that food in its natural state surely would not make her sick. She then discovered the importance of gut health, and so began a passionate journey into understanding the microbiome. Oh God, how good
Very
am I
good,
today?
I love that
Yes.
word, yeah.
Welcome, Elyse. Thank you for coming on Girl Awakening.
Such a pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. It's so nice to be in a room with both of you today.
Yeah,
We're excited.
We are excited.
We're going to deep dive into
yeah.
the belly world, which is
The
very
brain
symbolic.
world too. I've heard that the belly is the brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is massive when you look at it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they call it like the second brain, or then some people even call it the first brain.
Yeah.
Because your gut actually sends more signals to your brain than your brain sends to your gut.
It's just wild, isn't
Amazing,
it?
hey?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
When
Yeah.
you reverse it, like reverse the worlds, as we know it that way,
Yeah.
it blows you away that we don't listen to it more.
Uh-huh.
Because people,
We literally just don't. It's like we just put it aside. And I'm just thinking of myself throughout my years. It's just holds food. How naive is that, really?
Yeah. And how often we're told by professionals like GPs, gastroenterologists, that what you're eating doesn't impact the health of your gut. And to me, I'm just like banging my head against a wall, because it's like that's the only thing that's the main thing it's interacting with.
Yes.
Is the food that you eat. So of course it impacts the health of it. And it just goes so deep from there, because what's going on in your gut impacts on everything else in your whole system.
Yep.
And what I really love to teach people is the fact that that's not the end point. The end point isn't a healthy gut. The point is, when your gut isn't healthy and then your brain's not functioning well, your hormones, your sleep, and all those other things, you can't enjoy a happy, healthy life. The end goal is a happy, healthy life, to be able to thrive, find your purpose, have connection, all of those things.
Oh, wow.
So when we're working on the gut, ultimately it's to free us to be able to focus on that. And I think that's a good way to think of it right from the start, because you can get very bogged down, and I did, because my gut issues were all encompassing.
Yeah.
They took over every day for me of symptoms. So it can get very all encompassing, and so your end goal can feel like resolving the symptoms, and then you get there and you're like, oh, okay, now what? And
Another
it's
layer.
like there's more to life than that. And so it's
And
like
we usually
moving
put
beyond
that at the bottom of the list.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about girl awakening or awakening, that would be something that would come in down the track a little bit, because I know we've even been having the conversation around coffee. It's like it's been alcohol and now it's coffee. The things that we feel are keeping us, let's just say, on a lower vibration, instead of, we're talking about going free and doing all these wonderful things. What are the things that are holding us into those densities, or holding us into a lower vibration?
And you only have to think about how you feel when you're constipated to
Yeah.
go, okay, well, that's pretty, you just feel like, well, literally like crap, and you're tired and lethargic and heavy and things. But there's so many, as you say, just mentioned then, layers and aspects of how your gut can encompass quality of life.
Yes. Yeah. And that ultimately that's what the goal is. And I just think that's so important to realize, because when you are getting so stuck in it, that you can get obsessive.
Yeah.
And then it can actually, focusing on your health can then become a detriment.
Yeah.
So the number 4 leading cause of stress, this one, my good friend Helen Patterson told me this one, and I love it.
We love Helen.
We love Helen. We all
Fuck, we love Helen.
Yes. I know she'll probably listen. So I love you, Helen.
Yeah, we love you.
So the number 4 leading cause of stress in Australia is wanting to be healthy.
Wow.
Which is just ridiculous. So it's like actually wanting to be healthy
It's an
is
oxymoron, isn't
yeah,
it?
yeah. So that's what I kind of say. It's like not sacrificing your health in order to be healthy. We get bogged down in the wrong details. So we need that wider picture view of what we're actually wanting in life.
Reversing things.
On that note,
Yeah.
let's
On
jump
that
in.
note.
Yes. Elyse,
Yes.
when did your awakening begin?
That actually began for me at a pretty young age. I find this quite an interesting story to think back of myself as a child and the way that I thought, and the different perspectives that were coming to me at a young age. But at around the age of 8, I remember just feeling a bit discontented with what I thought life was meant to be. Because when you're that age, your picture of life is basically what's in front of you.
Yeah.
How your parents are living their life, how they grew up and lived their lives when they were younger. You have a very limited perception of what's actually possible in life. You don't know all the things that are out there. So for me, my parents, they met when they were young. They had my brother when they were really quite young, especially to nowadays standards. They were like 19 and 20.
Oh, wow.
So they had my brother then, and they had all 3 of us by the time my mum was 25, I think, when she had me. They married young, bought a house, worked their butts off, provided for us, gave us everything we could possibly need. So, they were really hard workers and really fantastic parents, and still are. And I looked at what they had done, that we now lived, half an hour from where they grew up. They met young, together young, family, working, all of that kind of stuff. And I looked and thought, okay, is that life then? Like, is that what I need to do? And that just wasn't what I wanted to do. And I didn't understand. So this is really young to be thinking this kind of
really
stuff.
expensive in your own self to be even thinking that.
Yeah, and there is that 7-year cycle, and when you come to the age of 8, you do start looking beyond the garden, they kind of call it.
Yeah.
Like looking outward of like, okay, hang on a minute, there's my home and there's my family life, but there's something beyond that. What's that? Yeah. And so I started thinking of that, and it kind of started around then, but really developed over the next couple of years, when I would be just sitting in my room and I would cry because I was I would get really upset because I'm like, I don't want to just like
Get
meet
married
someone
and
and
have
get married
the
and
picket
have
fence.
kids and have a home and just live near here, and like I don't want that to be my life. I want something more. And it wouldn't have even been in these words, but it was like this general feeling that I was having of like, oh, is this what it is? And I'm not okay with this.
Yeah.
You
And
must have already had a previous life as a little Indian girl in India, like prearranged marriage, and
I know,
I
actually have some theories on my I'm like, I've also then said this since I was about 15, when I could talk more about this experience from when I was 8. I was starting to put the pieces together. And then my theory is that, and I feel it quite strongly, is that in a past life I was a businessman.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that busy workaholic, just worked, earned money, had lots of money, success in those kinds of terms.
Fabulous terms.
And that I, on my deathbed, went, I am never doing this again.
Yeah.
I have paid no attention to my family. There's been no connection. It's just all been about work. What a waste of a life. I feel like I vowed it on my deathbed. I'm never doing this again. So then that's what it feels like to me, that I've come through into this life with this really strong feeling of, from a young age, of how I want to live my life. So around the age of 12, I'd always been close with my auntie, my dad's youngest sister. And we had just been talking more, and I just learned more about her life, like that she had traveled and she had done all of these things. And I went up to stay with her when I was around 13 and like looked through all her photo albums from all her travels.
Oh, wow.
And my brain started opening up and thinking, I can do other things. I
Yeah.
can do more than this.
Yeah.
Like there are choices. Like I get to choose how I live my life. And so then
Must have been a feeling of a little bit of excitement.
yeah, like I started to feel excitement, and then it was like I always explain, I'm pointing to my solar plexus right now, that's the feeling in here. It was always this pull that was almost makes me like, like I can just feel it in there, and I could feel it from a young age. And so from then I started to follow my mum around the house. She was just like, should we still laugh about this? Because now she says to me, you were right. And she's like, I thought you were crazy, but you were right. I used to follow her around the house going, I'm not going to have a normal life. I'm not going to have a 9 to 5 job. I'm not having a mortgage and bills and all of those things. My life's going to be different.
Yeah.
I'm going to have all these amazing experiences and my life's going to be different. She'd be like cleaning the house and I would
Just
be
reminding
like
her.
marching around after her
Yeah.
on my like soliloquy about
Women's rights and freedom.
about how I'm going to live this spectacular life, and I'm not
So
doing
beautiful.
the 9 to 5 job and mortgage and kids, and you know, in the standard way I've been taught was the way to do it.
Yeah.
And she was just like, what do you mean? Like, of course you have to have a mortgage. Of course you have to have bills. Like, of course you got to do all those things. I'm like, no, not me. My life's going to be different. My life's going to be amazing. I'm going to go on adventures and I'm going to travel and I'm going to do all these things and my life
It's
will be
so
different.
wild because we literally grow up thinking that, you know,
Yeah.
we're going to get married, we're going to do the 9 to 5.
Yeah, not me.
We don't, but just that whole system, you know, the profile of that.
And it's not that my parents would have ever pushed that on
No.
me.
No.
They
It's
just
just what you
also
saw.
saw it as like, okay, well, you know, that's what you do. Like they were never pushy with, oh, you need to do this. They've always been pretty open.
And it's a good
obviously.
life. It's living a good life if that's what you're choosing to live, isn't it? I mean, it's a healthy, wholesome.
Exactly. I'm
loving
grateful
life.
that's what my parents chose, and they've done it so beautifully with such devotion to us. But
You had other dreams.
I had other dreams, and I can remember also trying to explain this to my friends, and I can remember clearly one day just walking down to the shops, like the local shops, probably to get hot chips or something. And a
50 cents.
bottle of Coke and a block of Breakaway. And I was walking with my
Good gut
friend,
food.
and we would have been about 13 or 14, and I'm saying to her, don't like, and where we lived it was like suburbia, but then there's hills all like surrounding, like paddocks and farms and stuff. We're like walking over a hill, and I'm like, don't you just like want to like go and live in the hills and just like be free and just not have to answer to anyone, not have like time restraints or places to be and things to do, just be totally free and just be living in the hills? And she's like, no.
Wow. I'm listening to you going,
She's thinking, I like Elyse, but she's different.
Yeah, she's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay, it's just me then. But it's
crazy.
like that. So from that age of like, I guess from when I saw the photos in my auntie's photo album of traveling, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what's possible. I could never get my mind off that.
Yeah.
And so that yearning, it was painful, a painful yearning all through my teen years of just wanting to go and be in the hills, or like, you know, just go. Ultimately it was be free and live a life of freedom, doing whatever I wanted to do and having adventures, and this is all I wanted. And so when I was 19 I did that. Like I bought a car, full drive, saved a bit of cash, and like started heading north. None of my friends wanted to come with me. No one wanted to come. So I was just like, well, I'm going.
Yeah.
And I'd spoken about it all those years. I'd be telling my parents, I'm going as soon as I can. Like, I'm out of here. I'm going traveling. Like, this is happening. And they were I don't know if I guess on some level they knew I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then off I went at 19, and I still think back now because I look at 19-year-olds and I'm like, gee, I was brave.
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm just thinking of Charlie, my daughter.
Yeah.
She's now gone.
Yeah, brave, but also ignorant, like beautifully
Naive
ignorant.
is a good word.
Naive is a good word.
But I've been learning that
Blissfully
the
naive.
naivety
Blissfully
is a good asset to have.
It
like,
is.
because you're just like, you're really tuned in.
Yeah.
And you're not listening to the outside world.
I think you can attract some really beautiful things when you
Yes.
go out there with that blissful naivety of like, everyone will help me and this will all be amazing.
Yeah.
And then they do.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Yeah. So I didn't stop. Like,
Yeah.
I left when I was 19 in my Ford, with like this little 19-year-old girl in a
Wow.
big Ford four-wheel drive.
Yep.
And just with no, like, people will be like, where are you going? I'm like, north. It's just north. I don't really know. And like, I ran out. I grew up in Sydney, and I ran out of money by the time I got to the Gold Coast.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, and got a job on,
Hospitality.
but like, just things fell into place.
Yeah.
Like, a family friend got me a job on Fraser Island, and I
Oh,
turned
wow.
up there with my last $10, but they provide your accommodation and food, and then you get paid. So
Yes.
I'm like, I turn up there just in time to get fed and have somewhere to live and get paid the
Yeah.
next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like by the seat of my pants, but
Wow.
ended up all up and down the East Coast and over in the Northern Territory for a little while, and I kind of
Wow.
didn't stop until I had my son.
Yeah.
How cool is it seeing all those places?
Yeah,
just,
it's amazing.
Connecting with the land and making new friends.
Yeah, and living the
free.
life I wanted, in the sense of not knowing how the next week was going to look and having to let things happen by chance.
Yeah.
So that was a thing for me. I wish I'd written them all down, because there were so many things where certain things just fell into place by chance, or I'd bump into a person and they knew something, and, like, we weren't totally organized. We didn't have all the security of like money in the bank and all that kind of stuff. There was like, it was just kind of, living life, flying by the seat of my pants, and with other people, and always traveling with other people that I'd meet along the way, and having so much fun. But living that adventurous lifestyle where you're trusting in a flow, I guess.
Oh, that's exactly what I was just thinking when you were saying that. It's like the one thing that we try and do now, we try and do more of that. We're always talking about the flow. And you were doing it so naturally and unaware that you were doing it.
Yeah.
It was just what you had to do.
Naive.
Yeah, it's so
Following something
amazing.
inside of you.
So you can trust the flow then. It's like, once you have children
Yeah.
and responsibilities, it's like we get stagnated out of that flow of trusting, because then we're around a lot of other people that are responsible, and all our friends have kids, and it's like, oh, what are you doing that for? That's really irresponsible. You move out of that naive early 20s, just go and make
Trusting
random
your own
decisions and
choices,
trust
yeah.
your
The
choices,
natural knowingness that you have. Yeah.
And that other
Yes.
person to think of as well is that first step into that responsibility as well. Like your child, it's, you caring for your child and thinking of them first. That's, I think, is what that's resonated with me. Like when I had my children, was being single in my 30s, or not single, but in a relationship, but carefree, and thinking of myself and what I was going to do for the day, and then having another person to think of, demanding to be thought of, needing to be thought of. It's a big step into that responsibility.
It's a big step, and I'm still selfish. I was like,
But I don't think that's a bad thing.
I know,
We just
I'm
need to
okay
change
with
the
it.
word. I just think we need to find a new word, because I think the more that you look after you, the more that they see that and they go,
Yeah.
oh, I've really, it's
Yeah.
something that's, needs to be
yeah.
taken a little bit more
Kindly.
kindly,
Yeah. And I've tried to bring my perspective on life into how I parent my son as well. So we have done adventurous things when he was 18 months old, or it would have been when he was about 12 months old. I was like, hang on a minute. I'm going to like a shopping centre nearly every day, walking around, pushing a pram. Suddenly all my clothes in my wardrobe are new, and usually I had like all the op shop wonders.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like living this like very standard normal life. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And I booked tickets overseas. So I just randomly, I sold my car and bought a cheaper car.
Yeah.
So I would have money to book flights overseas.
Were you in the health area here? No, not yet.
I wasn't working yet because
Yeah.
Dylan was so young.
Yes.
So Dylan,
So how old were you when you had Dylan?
27.
27.
Okay, yeah.
No,
And
that's
he's now
7
9.
year, like, no, that's Saturn returns
Yeah,
kind of
yes,
thing.
yeah. And he's 29. He's 9 now.
Oh, watch
Gosh.
yourself.
Yeah, I know. Oh, that'll
Before
happen
you
before
know
I know
it.
it. No, gosh, I'll be 56 now. So yeah, he's 9 now. I was like still doing post-grad studies, and I was ridiculous. While I was pregnant with him and straight after I was handing in assignments early because I knew I'd be giving birth.
Wow.
And so then like after he was born, I think 3 weeks after he was born, I've got like a photo of him laying on the rug while I'm like there with textbooks because I was doing some post-grad studies.
Yeah.
And I'd have to go to exams in the city, and my mum would have to come and sit outside of the exam with him, and then she'd have to tell the examiner when he needed to be fed. And someone would have to stand there and watch us while she handed him to me. So like he didn't, so he hadn't written
papers,
like answers on
no
his
notes.
belly or something.
I so love that.
Yeah,
that you
and
just
so
said
then
that
I would
because
sit
there's
and feed
so
him.
many women that would be like, I can't.
Yeah, so I'd
but-
kind of push myself,
Yeah.
and mum wouldn't be allowed to speak to me, and I'd have to like feed him, then hand him back and go back in and try and
Wow.
finish the exam on like belly, and he sleep anyway with a very
Yeah.
young baby.
Good on
So
you.
yeah, I was doing all of that when he was young.
It's incredible how you
That
can.
is
isn't it?
incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I took him overseas. We went and spent 3 or 4 weeks in England, Ireland, Scotland, just travelling around. We had old friends around the place and went and visited, and
Amazing.
everyone thought I was crazy going and travelling alone with an 18-month-old. Yeah, I was a single mum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreal.
But beautiful to just keep awake in you that yearning for freedom and experience and taking your beautiful baby with you and sharing that together.
Yeah.
And
It's
having
very
the awareness
connected.
of not sinking into that.
Suburbia
Yeah.
mindset.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And then just about 18 months ago, I went and bought a van and packed our life up.
Yeah.
And we went travelling
Yes,
for
I
8
remember
months
that, yeah.
all around Northern Territory, Far North Queensland, just him and I.
Oh,
So
amazing.
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, we went and did some time on the road, and yeah, I pulled him out of school, and we kind of did all that and had adventures and went hunting and did all of those sorts of things, having a big trip on the road.
So incredible, especially for a young boy too, to be able to have that adventure and that understanding that he can do that one day too if he chooses, if that's what he loves, and that's so beautiful. Oh, should we move on to the next question?
Well, yeah, so we kind of have to backtrack again, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've gone a bit of travelling.
Yes. So
We've got itchy feet.
I know. When I talk about it, I get itchy feet again.
yeah,
I'm like,
absolutely. So when all this was happening, Elyse, did you notice, I mean, you would have noticed some shifts happening around you, but did you notice any shifts in your thoughts about the world, or were you waking up to anything that was happening around you at the time? I know,
I guess we're talking like in early 20s, aren't we?
Yeah,
Like,
so you're
you're probably obviously pretty living in that world, aren't you?
Yeah.
Experimenting.
But were you questioning anything around you at this stage? Or
Definitely. Like in my teens, that all really started. That's when I started using using natural products and just going, everything they tell us isn't right. And, that all started in my teen years. And a lot of that was my auntie as well that would get me onto like, do you know that all the chemicals in your body wash, like, that's got blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, really?
Yeah.
And so that all started happening then for me. And I guess when you start questioning food and skincare products and all that kind of stuff, it's like a natural progression.
Yes, yeah.
Like maybe everything else they tell us isn't true either. And something I noticed a shift for me around those teen years as well was my relationship to the world and how what I do and say and think impacts on my experience. So when I was in high school, I remember like having a really hard time with some girls at school and thinking, I'm just going to get my mum to, like, I'll change schools. Like, I'll just change schools and I'll just get out of here. And then I kind of, like, looked at the situation and thought, there's something I can do here and I can change. If I change schools, I'm just going to attract the same thing.
Wow.
So
that's a massive thought.
I would have been about 15 or 16. I'm like, there's something about the way I'm being. Like, I know I was really insecure when I was a teenager. So I'm like, I'm just going to attract the same dynamic.
Wow.
Like, it'll just happen again if I move schools. So I know that was starting in my teen years to think in that way.
Yeah.
That it's like, the way I'm acting, the way I'm being, the way I feel about myself, that then impacts on how people interact with you and how the world interacts with you, basically. So yeah, that all started pretty young for me.
That's massive at that
very
age.
so wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's because we often spend like a big part of our lives moving away from things rather
I
than...
still did that though.
Well, you know.
Yeah. Avoiding.
But,
Still did it.
peer groups at teenage years, that's
Yeah.
that's a huge world, isn't it? Your
Yeah.
friendship groups and things.
Yeah. And I think from how I was starting to look at the world of like my big rant and raves about I'm going to live a life like this, I really felt strongly that I decided.
Yeah.
Like, I get to decide.
Yeah.
And so that was strong from me from a young age. I didn't feel like I was a victim or just a receiver of life, like
Yep.
that I just had to go along and how it was all going to unfold was just going to happen whether I like it or not. I felt like I decide.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of, it's dipped in and out, because there's definitely been times where I start to forget, and then I've got to pull myself back on the path again, and then start to
Yes.
forget and get caught up in other, and then pull yourself. So it's been like that. It's not just been this headlong path since I was 13 of just
course.
living my life so strongly. It's waved in and out while I've pulled myself back onto my path. But yeah, that feeling was there of like, I decide, I get to choose how
Yes.
this goes.
That's a lot around self-responsibility, and that's so beautiful. And I love the aspects of you that you were saying you've been drawn in and out, because, you know, different relationships, different people, even having a child and being the mum, you know, all of those labels can draw you in and out of.
Yeah.
You can get stuck there for periods
Yeah.
of time
Yeah.
without realising.
And then you have the influences of people sharing their views on things, you know, and whether it fits with you or not, being able to stay true to what you believe is right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that sort of was like, there's been so many times in my life where it's like I've become stagnated into something again, but then it's like that yearning comes and I cannot ignore it.
That
And
feeling.
and there's usually some kind of drastic change, like packing up all my things and packing my son in a van and saying, we're going off traveling.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's something like that I go, right, I need to tip this all on its head right now.
Yeah.
Which I guess can be a good and a bad thing.
Yeah, but at least you're making a shift.
Yeah, and resetting basically, isn't
Yeah.
it? By different environment, different
Yeah.
people. And I remember listening to one of the girls, I always forget which sister it is, in the Waifs, and she was saying when COVID, living in Western Australia, first kicked in, she just packed up the house, locked it all up, took her son and did the same thing, headed off into a van down the coast for 7 months, I think it was, and disappeared. She
Unreal.
had the best time.
Yeah, and it meant
just, they felt safe. They felt they're living their how they chose to live.
Yeah.
And
and over that time for my son, it meant he wasn't really exposed to a lot of the drama.
I was just thinking that.
So we just everything was just perfectly timed. So we actually one of the dinners we had that you and Trev were at, Joe. Was like the
you
day
were leaving.
before.
Yes,
I was leaving.
you were leaving the next day.
I
was so pumped for you because I was like, just get out of this bubble, you know.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, but the day I left was a Monday. By the Friday, all the borders were locked down.
That's
I could not have
right. You got out. Yeah.
So we had just gone and we just escaped, and then things went really intense.
That's right.
And so everywhere we were on our travels, we seemed to just slip in and out of places while it was all fine. And it's like we got out of the NT a couple of weeks later, it went all crazy. And then, you know, Queensland was still fine. Then we got out of Queensland back to New South Wales when that all went crazy, and back here was fine. And, you know, so we were just really
the silver lining
in that traveling, that Dylan just wasn't really exposed to anything too full on.
So good.
We got to just
no TVs
do what
and
we wanted
things
to
like
do.
that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so perfect.
Again, trusting instincts and of just doing something for your own spirit.
And with the full support of my parents. That's one thing that has always been so incredible for me, even though, you know, they did get married at 19 and have babies and live that life, and they did, you know, think I was crazy when I would say it, you know, not that they'd stop me, but they were just like, what? But they've been so supportive the whole way when it came to it, and I'm going, and they were like, okay. And then, you know, when I wanted to buy a van and go traveling with Dylan, my dad flew to WA with me to buy a van because I found the perfect van. And I bought it sight unseen because it was the perfect van, and it definitely was. I was really lucky with that buy. So my dad flew over to WA with me I left Dylan with my mum,
Yeah.
and we went and picked up the van and we drove it in 4 days all the way across the Nullarbor. My dad was like, all right,
What a cool adventure, the two of you.
Let's go get your van and we'll drive it all the way back.
That just gave me goosies because I was thinking your dad probably just thinking, oh my God, I love this girl.
Yeah.
You know, look what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah,
it's like getting them
"I'll
out of
come
their
along."
comfort zone too, kind of thing. But, you know.
Yeah.
He's
Fixed.
probably actually thinking, I've got to make sure it doesn't break down halfway.
Yeah.
He would definitely be thinking he wants to keep me safe as well, but always up for an adventure. Yeah, and he fixed a whole bunch of things on it before I went travelling.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that. So, what kind of things were happening around you or to you in this time of, you know, awakening? I mean, we've already learned that you've kind of you've kind of been really open to it from a young age and aware and of everything going on around you. And you did talk about how things just happened, like things just opened up for you. Flow was just kind of happening. But did you notice, was there anything else happening around you or to you that you were like, oh, okay?
Well, I guess through all of that, at the moment it sounds like it was all adventure, travel and amazing and all these things all up through my 20s. But there was a lot of like going against myself, ignoring myself, and then ending up down paths that weren't the ideal paths. So lots of, I'd call it alcohol abuse, even though it's very culturally and socially acceptable.
Yes.
But I would consider it to be alcohol abuse because it was very much to my detriment.
Yes.
And recreational drug use as well.
Yeah.
Also to my detriment. And relationships.
I was going to say, so Dylan's dad, were you in relationship with him?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So we were for about a year. And then we split when I think I was only 5 weeks pregnant with Dylan. Yeah.
And there was no second thought about that? No, you were just...
No.
Yeah.
No, that was an absolute. And again, I guess it's been my style in like when things get really tough, my mindset is really strong.
Yeah.
So in that time, I even like reflect on it now. I'm like, gee, I was brave.
Yeah.
Because I guess I had that beautiful, blissful naivety.
Yeah.
That I didn't actually know what I was in for, becoming a single mum at 27. And yeah, throughout the pregnancy, I was actually working in the mines. That's like one of my deep, dark and dirty secrets that I used to work. I used to work in the mines. I used to drive trucks and loaders and working in the mines. So that's where I met Dylan's dad.
Yeah.
And so I stayed working there until I was like 32 weeks pregnant.
Oh
so
my
I was
God.
this big pregnant woman walking
amazing.
around a mine site, which is just like none of
big
them
boots.
had ever seen that before. And like everyone's like, oh my gosh. And of course there's a story. Like we both work there. We're not together anymore. All that stuff. I was like, it was like I was untouchable. I was oblivious.
Yeah.
If anyone was talking about us or me or anything, I was totally oblivious.
Unreal.
And there was people like there that were amazing people I was really good friends with, and they'd be like really like, I feel, sorry for Elyse. I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be great. It's going to be amazing. This like there's not going to be any financial difficulties for me and this baby. Like life is going to be amazing. There is no other way.
Wow.
Like I know it is going to be incredible. And that was my mindset. And again, my parents shone through. Is like being so incredibly supportive, and that also gave me the strength, like that they were like just like, this is going to be, of course it's going to be great, like of course you're going to be amazing, of course it's going to be awesome, like deep down I think they were probably worried, like of course.
It's a funny one because I sit here thinking, oh, she's so resilient, but resilient isn't even the right word, because resilience is like when someone falls down and they just get back up. It's like you don't even fall down. It's like you've just decided I'm just gonna do it. So it's
and
like,
it feels like, and I try to explain it to people, I'm like, it just feels like a decision. And like in saying that, there's still definitely moments where I do fall, like I have fallen down. And even in that situation, there would have been days, of course, like pregnancy hormones thrown in on that. There definitely will have been days where I was falling down and struggling with that. But ultimately I'd pick myself back up pretty quickly, because I'm like, no, like of course, like in a deep belief that of course it's going to be amazing because it's happening to me. Like, and it just wouldn't be otherwise. Like of course it's going to be great, and of course we're going to be fine. And like we have been beyond fine. Like it has been amazing. Like I ended up starting my business when Dylan was 1, and then that's just grown exponentially from there, and it has been amazing. And I own my own house, and like it's all those things have happened really, really easily for us, and that's like I'm incredibly grateful. But it's like I was not going to buy into a story, which I say with full respect to anyone that's in that position.
Absolutely.
But for me, I felt it wasn't our story of single mum struggling with money, not getting by, not having the things we need, you know, living week to week. I just knew that wasn't my story.
What a beautiful...
the sense that I get when you were saying about whether it's resilience, or I just was feeling deeply abundant, and not but from the point of view of, I guess, where that blissful naivety allows you just to be, why not?
Yeah.
Rather than why or can I, or, you know, questioning the negative. It's more about the, well, why not, you know? And because life in the mines is, you know, it's pretty hardcore. It's hard work. You know, it's not like you're kind of sitting behind a desk or anything like that, which is still hard work. But, you know, you're out there in the elements and the heat and all of those things. So to even be healthy and pregnant.
Yeah, I know.
And it's
it
not
was in
easy,
the build-up
you
as
know.
well,
It's wild.
Yeah, pregnant, wearing long pants,
abundant.
boots and all those things, working on a mine site. Yeah, it was it's very funny to think back on. I have photos of me lined up with 2 other men the day I was leaving, and I'm like 32 weeks pregnant, and they've got their big beer bellies, and I'm standing in a row or holding our bellies.
God,
I know. Yeah,
so
I have
cool.
to send you that photo. It's quite funny.
Yeah, as you talk about it, it's like a beautiful simplicity about it too. You know, it's like there's not much complication with you. It's like just,
I don't know.
and the power in decision, which is a big one too, because I'm big on once you make a decision, the universe then will, you know, do whatever it needs to do to support you.
Especially if you're taking action.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I feel. It's like decision, manifestation with steps of action.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's the perfect combo that like gets you there.
Absolutely. I agree totally. I'm big with the decision making because I think, you know, a lot of the time we procrastinate or we shift and change, and the universe is like, fuck, what are you doing? We're going down this path. What are you doing now? You know, it's like, and then we wonder why we've got chaos happening around us. It's like, no, just make a decision and stand in that fully.
Because you get the fear and you get other people's judgments and calls.
Yeah.
Because there's no other time, like when you're pregnant, I feel that's a big time when people feel fully entitled to give you opinions about pretty much everything.
Yeah. It's so funny. I did not get any of that. It was so funny when my
choice been in the minds.
When my friends would all tell me things people would say to them when they're pregnant. Like one of the really common one is that they'll tell them really sad stories about, you know, things that have happened to friends or anything, you know, during pregnancy. And it's like you're telling this to like someone that's about to give birth and telling them this. It's really strange how people decide, I'm going to tell you this horror story. I didn't get any of that. It was just really funny.
Yeah.
Maybe I just like, I don't know. I feel like I had this like beautiful wall around me when I was pregnant of like only good things. Thank you.
That's what I think I'm talking about when I say the simplicity in you. It's like people, you know, some people just share the things that they feel like they can feel from you. It's like, but there was really nothing, you know. It's just like, oh, there's Elyse, she's getting on with it, you know. Yeah, she's doing fine. I don't need to really say anything.
Yeah, and I feel like as being like 36-year-old me, I'm like, oh my gosh, if that was me again, I'd be freaking out.
Yes. It's funny when we look back and go, how did I do that? How did I get through that? Yeah,
how did I get through that so like happily and just with such a strong mindset? I just cruised on through it.
So you would have been studying then, were you? Like, you already started like your nutrition? Like, what drew you to that? Was it your
I like to tell everybody what to do. Okay. So that was one part of it. And for me, definitely my life experience with all of my health stuff's going on and resolving that. And then once I was doing things that helped that, I was like, I want to tell everybody. Like, I'm a soapbox person. I'm like, want to scream it from the rooftops, and you don't have to feel like that. So, you know, it was basically like that. And even when I was working in the mines, I was everyone's go-to about their nutrition and their exercise and all their stuff with their health, because I'd done most of my studies by then. So
it would have been long distance online.
Yeah, so I did I did years at a university when I was in my early 20s, and then did some years online, and then did some postgrad. So my studies were all kind of split up over that time.
As you were experiencing life, they kind of came with you.
Yeah, I was like the most well-paid uni student when I worked at the mines.
Yeah.
Because you'd get rainy nights where you'd all be sitting in a crib hut and I'd be sitting there doing my uni work. So I managed to get a lot of my degree done.
Unreal.
Yeah, while I was working big hours.
Yeah,
Even that alone is just
dedication
and so incredible.
Yeah.
Preparing for what was coming. Yeah.
So what were your health issues then? Like, it's like, was it what gave you an awareness? Like, you obviously had awareness from 8, questioning life as it is and what your life was about. But so was it like the normal teenage stuff, like periods and skin and or tiredness or
lots of the fairly normal stuff. Common. I like to use the word common rather than normal, because people think that it's normal. It's like it doesn't have to be normal. It's actually just really common. Lots of digestive issues, lots of bloating, pain, discomfort, just all the time. I remember going to the doctors with my mum when I was like 12, and it was like the first time someone had ever asked me, what are your stools like? And I was like, oh, like runny all the time. And my mum was like, really? I'm like, yeah, I just thought that was normal.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, that's not normal. And I'm like, I pretty much had diarrhea nearly on a daily basis. So, and just pain, discomfort all the time. So then there was like, my acne was terrible, like all over my face, chest, neck, shoulders, back, everywhere.
Wow.
As a teenager, that's not fun.
That's not
I didn't
fun.
want to go to the beach with my friends, and I took Roaccutane and all of those and heaps of antibiotics and all that stuff to try and get rid of it. And I would get abscesses in my breasts, which was like horrendous.
Yeah.
So I used to have cysts always. So we'd have to go and get ultrasounds on my breasts, like at least I think it was like every 6 months. I could be exaggerating, because to me it was so horrendous that I just the memory's strong. But it was very
the mammogram
just ultrasounds on all the cysts.
Okay, ultrasounds, yeah.
So, and like to go, all the sonographers were always men, and I'm like a 14-year-old girl going to get my breasts ultrasounded. I hated it. Yeah, it was horrible. So because I just always had cysts. So my breasts were riddled with cysts, and sometimes they would turn into an abscess. So the first time I turned up to the doctor with one of them, they're like, we only usually see these in breastfeeding women. Like, we don't even know why that's happening.
Did you ever go on the contraception pill?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So I went on the pill as well for my skin.
Yep.
From 14, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yep.
Luckily, I was always so hopeless at taking anything. So I was never extremely consistent over a long period of time with it. But I definitely did go on that, which threw my hormones haywire. I turned into a crazy person on the pill.
I'm thinking about the cysts and all that too.
Yeah.
Because I think I went down a similar path too.
Yeah. So, and like mental health stuff. So depression, anxiety.
Which is all linked. Back to the acne, back to that, even the having to go and do all those things you've been talking about. It's all linked, isn't it?
The discomfort in your body, all those things.
And fatigue, and that was just all getting worse in my 20s. Obviously, I wasn't treating my body very well, so that all exacerbates it. So the bloating, discomfort, the pain, the intolerances, all that kind of stuff was getting worse, so that daily I was just like in pain, bloated, and like can't go out for dinner with friends without freaking out about where the toilet is, and then feeling so disgustingly bloated afterwards, and just always uncomfortable, like and the depression, anxiety, and those things started to get worse as well.
This is interesting, because the next question is perfect. So what did you have to change, if anything?
So
or what did you decide to change? Not necessarily what did you have to, what did you decide?
Because that's, it's like, I'm just recalling what a friend with dermatologists, when you're talking earlier about diet, and he said, you take the Roaccutane, I'm going to give you probiotics for 3 months, possibly 6 months if you need it. You don't need to change your diet. Doesn't matter what you eat, sugar, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't make any difference. It's all about taking this.
Yeah, you mean antibiotics?
Antibiotics and Roaccutane. And I was just like gobsmacked.
Yeah.
I just totally. And then angry, because that's not helping anyone, is it?
No. So then, I guess it was definitely taking it into my own hands. I actually went pretty much paleo without having any idea what that was then.
Yeah.
But I just figured, and I was studying naturopathy at the time. I didn't finish that. I transferred across to nutrition. And I was just like, surely if I just eat like actual food, like real food, surely that will not make me sick. And so I did for a period of time, like a couple of months, where I just ate meat and vegetables, and the only like grain type thing I ate was like this beautiful organic pumpkin and rice bread.
Yeah.
So other than that, I was paleo without actually even knowing what that was back then. I was just eating meat and veg, and like for breakfast I was having eggs and avocado and salmon, and this is like I was working in a cafe and going to uni, and my friends are all eating 2-minute noodles and casks of goon. I'd say the other non-paleo thing, I would have still been drinking alcohol. And they're like, how do you afford, like, why are you spending all your money on like organic eggs and all this stuff? And it was just always important to me from then to prioritize that I spent my money on good food. So I lost weight and looked so much better. Skin got better, all my symptoms got better.
Wow.
And then I started eating all the normal food again, and I'm like, oh, it didn't work.
Which is so normal, isn't it? Wow.
I'm like, it didn't work. Like, I felt better for a while, but like, it's all making me feel crap again. So I just really didn't have that understanding.
Yes.
So then it was just like growing from there. And also like this, as you're improving your health, stuff changes like emotionally as well. So it's like, as I'm learning to take better care of my body, like I completely stopped drinking or taking any kind of drugs when I was 23.
Yeah.
And then that was when I bought my first business, which was a stand-up paddleboard school in Byron Bay.
Oh, cool.
So I had this like 12-seater bus with a trailer with 12 boards, and I used to go and pick people up from their accommodation. And then I would take them up to the Bruns River, and we'd put all the boards in, and I'd take them for a big paddle up the river, and then I'd have fruit all prepared, and we'd have a big fruit platter, and then I'd go and drop them back at their accommodation. That was my life. When I was 23, I had this.
That is
again,
so cool.
My parents helped me. They went guarantor on a loan so I could buy this business. They really backed me from a young age of like these dreams I had. They're like, she can do it.
Believed in you.
So they helped to fulfill that one. So that was my life at 23 was taking people paddleboarding, and I'd become a competitive paddler at that point. Your beautiful husband had organised a race that I nearly died in. I love to remind him about that every now and then, like the most ridiculous race that everybody that runs surf clubs is like, Trev, don't run this race. Don't run this race. The surf is too big, and I tore my medial collateral ligament at the finish.
Oh my God.
At the finish, you got all the way through.
I got all the way through to
Yes,
salt.
I remember that.
Like
That's where I met you.
and closing out. It was horrendous. It was so bad.
Conditions are always perfect, Elyse.
Yeah, I know. The conditions are always perfect. I was out the back like, get a helicopter.
There's only one way to get out of the water. The helicopter.
I was saying to the guy on the jet ski, I'm like, just get a helicopter. He's like, I'm going to tell you to go. And when I say go, you go. I'm like, okay.
Oh,
it was the scariest experience of my life.
Yeah.
So I thank Trev for that every day.
Expanding your awareness
Again,
around.
and my boyfriend at the time was like, you can't do this race. I'm like, yeah, I can.
Don't tell me what I can't do.
I can do this race.
That's
It
so
was
beautiful.
It wasn't Trev's fault at all. Because if he had challenged you, you would have thought
maybe I wouldn't have done it. Yeah.
So funny.
So like that was then, as I'll go back to where I was, I think, if I can remember. But that changing things emotionally as well as physically, like starting to take care of my body again. And stop drinking and start having this more active lifestyle and start living more on purpose. Came with that challenge of my self-worth's not very good. Yeah. So that stuff all comes up when you stop drinking, you stop taking drugs, you're left with yourself, and then you realize you don't like yourself, and so that's been big for me since then. Like working through that kind of stuff, that self-worth, and then becoming a parent, and it all comes up more. And
That's so interesting because your view on your body and what you put into your body is very worthy. Do you know what I mean? It's like I don't have that same thought pattern I wish I was a little bit more conscious of exactly what I'm putting in my body, but if there's a chocolate bar there, I'm like, oh my God, gotta eat that chocolate bar, where I'm sure you would be a little bit more restrained in, no, that's not going to work for me. Do you know what I mean? So that self-worth, I would think that you would have a lot of self-worth just by what I know about you, and hearing this is like, oh wow, it comes in many layers and many forms.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I don't even have an explanation for that, because my self-worth was really low in my 20s. But as I said, I was the one buying all the organic food, and I was really
looking after
particular
yourself
about that.
Yeah.
Like, not that I wouldn't eat the chocolate that they all got out, but I wasn't eating 2-minute noodles for dinner.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So it's I don't really understand myself how that works.
It's interesting.
All that, yeah. But definitely, like, self-worth has been a huge one for me. And it's only getting better and better. And then I see it reflected in my life.
Yeah.
And like where my life is at.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
That's
is
beautiful.
In a very good place right
It
now.
is, yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to it in a way, though, because like I've always like enjoyed eating good food, as in healthy food, as in food that's nourishing, food that's real and fresh and not processed, and all those sort of things, like having value around that and how it makes you feel good in health and things like that. But very low self-worth, self-value, self-love, and I think it's the kind of, like you can be more logical around the food aspect, whereas around the heart aspect, it's kind of, I don't know whether it's
a lot more vulnerability. Yeah. It's a soft, tender place.
Yeah, and just sometimes like what you deserve in life and things like that too. Like there's exploring around all that. Like the vulnerability. Of
absolutely.
Yeah. My self-worth, I guess, it's probably different areas that it lacks as well when it comes to taking care of my body. I guess my self-worth, I felt worthy of that. But for me, it's been relationships. That's where my self-worth has really lacked in the past.
Yeah. And it's an interesting time that we're going through now, where it's a lot around transformation, but a lot of it is around like scraping those parts of us that we've avoided for so long, scraping away the sides of us that need to come up to clear, that we've been either suppressing or avoiding. And a lot of that is around the self-worth, because we don't it's so hard to love yourself, especially in the country that we live in, where it's, you're cocky, or how dare you say that you love yourself? You get wiped out for saying that, where it's like, we actually really need to start really looking after ourselves and really loving ourselves.
And the culture is a lot too more superficial around how we take care of ourselves. It's what we put on ourselves, the makeup and the this and that, not judging that at all, but what people's choices of expression are. But I had a beautiful friend from young age, and she was the most gorgeous, literally gorgeous girl, but she would not leave her bedroom upon waking up before she put her makeup on. And this was like from 12. And just you couldn't get someone any more prettier. There was no skin issues or anything like that, but it was, she had to put that on because then she felt like she was beautiful.
It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic.
Could be a whole podcast on that.
Makeup,
with every woman too, because every woman that's sat in that chair, is doing incredible things for others, yet can't see it in them. Like it's hard to find it in themselves. That they're amazing.
And I definitely feel I'm getting to the place where I do.
Yeah.
And I see it reflected in my life, because it's like, well, look at all these amazing people that are in my life that want to be around me and want to share life with me. There's a reason for that. Like, that's because of me too.
Absolutely.
So it's like, I am getting to a point where I, also with my parenting, I don't think I'm a bad parent. And I think it's like, it's quite common to just always think you're a bad mum, or always have that mum guilt. And I'm like, no, I know I'm a good mum.
Yeah. The baby guilt is the first feeling you feel next to, oh my God, I have a beautiful baby. Guilt.
It's that self-acceptance, isn't it, around everything? So, like, accepting that, oh my, I've created all of this. These people, this amazing man, this amazing child, I've created all of that. And truly accepting it. Yeah.
Because
It's
when
an
you
amazing
said
little-
about relationships and the self-worth aspect there, self-love aspect, for me that comes up straight away as reflection. What, how, and the people we reflect ourselves against and who we choose to have as our reflection and things. And so to come to that moment where in your life where that you see that beauty, that's a beautiful reflection, isn't it?
Yeah. And I found in my relationships, I feel like they've always been a marker for me of like where I'm at in my growth and my self-worth.
Yeah.
And that's both in friendships and in my like romantic relationship as well. And it's like, it's like I've seen them gradually get better, and I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track when this is the kind of man I've got in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that right now, if you follow Elyse on Instagram,
Yes. Follow
she's
it.
got
really
her partner.
Cool. So much fun.
She's cleaning out her partner. Like,
I know, everyone's like, you cleansing him?
but he's just so with you and
he
so with Dylan.
is.
He's like 100% like
Yeah.
committed,
boys.
and it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
beautiful. And I
Yeah,
literally lost it laughing
Yeah.
when he was in the toilet and you were videoing the whole
I
thing.
know.
I was like, that's
And
so
he's-
beautiful.
really loves
and I'm
you.
like, he really loves me. But the funny thing is, everyone's laughing like, oh, poor Liam. And I'm like, no, he actually wants to do it.
Yeah.
Like, it is quite funny. I would make him anyway, even if he didn't. But yeah, he is, and I guess that's also why we're such a good match, because he is passionate about this stuff as well.
Yeah.
He's a chef by trade.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so fantastic.
Yeah, so he's passionate about all of this, and he's excited by all of this. And
Yeah.
we've got big dreams. I'm looking at your
Yeah.
ferment book on the shelf.
Yeah.
We've got some
exciting.
Yeah,
Ooh.
we've got some big ideas of things we want to be doing.
Well, I
so-
just looked at
Yeah.
a couple of weeks back. You've got the coffee I was looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was
we
like,
sell coffee
ooh.
now.
And
Yeah.
that's because I know my sister-in-law went through she went down a rabbit hole around coffee because she loves coffee. So she wanted to source the best coffee without mold. Because I
Yes.
didn't, and then she told me all about
Yeah,
the mold.
I
And I'm
know,
like,
it's
what?
like this like Pandora's box. I know.
Yes, that I didn't know about. And then I've seen
Yeah.
your coffee and I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this is fantastic.
Yes.
So this is the path you're going down, I'm gathering. Yeah, really
Yeah.
clean
Yeah.
foods. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you already have products.
Yeah,
now
so I've
that
got
you-
some products. Yeah, so we will be developing some more products and programs. So Liam and I
Excellent.
develop.
Unreal.
we're gonna be developing
Well, that's
programs for that.
we've just been talking about self-love. That is the truest form of self-love. I'm gaining more understanding around, is looking after the whole being.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we were having this discussion before we started recording, but that's what I really like to get across to people as well, is that it's not all about the food. Like, that is just your gateway to everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I'm hearing you, and I love that you're going down this path, because we talk about the new earth, and we talk about, but it's, if we really want to shift into that area, we really actually need to start waking up to the foods, what's in the soils, what's,
that's holistic,
everything.
isn't it? The
Yeah.
holistic. It all comes as one package. You can't just have.
Yeah.
Were saying that, Elyse. You can't have one without the other, and the nutrition is a part of that whole, isn't it?
And I think this
Yeah.
path that you and Liam are going down, and Dylan are going
Yeah.
down, is so crucial and so on track to support
So
the
that-
new human, new being, whatever that looks like. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
next question.
well, have we done that one?
Yep. Yeah, that's what we.
We have a list of questions, which because we've covered quite a lot already, and we're having a lot of fun traveling through.
I love this because it's so
Elise's
different
awakening.
from everything, from anything else
well,
we've done before, but it's so crucial.
What have you had to give up? As in, probably I imagine is dietary, but people, things as you've been on your awakening.
So, lots of things, and I guess there's lots of layers there. So, if I'm thinking more of on the physical side of things, of starting to understand my own stress levels and how much I can actually manage. I used to have a shop in Sydney, so I opened up a health food shop when Dylan was 3.
You keep blowing my mind, seriously. Wow.
Because I wasn't busy enough, so I thought I needed a health food shop. So I started it up from scratch and opened a health food shop in this little town just south of Sydney. It was right as my consulting business started to take off as well, so I was very busy, very stressed.
Yeah.
I ended up losing a lot of money in that health food shop, and I had to shut the doors. So that was at a point where my accountant was like, here's the line in the sand. Yeah. Please don't cross it.
Yeah.
He was like, really, he wanted me to shut it 6 months earlier than I did.
It's hard though when you created something.
And it was my baby. Like it felt like it was, I actually opened it. Dylan was born on my birthday.
Oh.
So on my 27th birthday is when I gave birth to Dylan in the same hospital that I was born in with my mum.
Wow.
There. Yeah. And then we opened the shop on his 3rd and my 30th.
Oh.
So it was like my next baby born on my birthday.
Yes.
Yeah. And through that, there was so much community connection. I used to run like community dinners and events and things like that. So to give that up, but that was like, it's such a big lesson, and it changed the way I practice as like nutritionist as well, is understanding that just because you want to do something doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it? I can hear you.
Yeah. So then, just giving things up in that sense of, right, I need to do less because I'm really stressed, I'm really overwhelmed, my health is suffering. My food hasn't changed, and that was a big awakening because I'm like, I haven't changed my diet, but my health is suffering. Oh, there's more to this picture, which I knew that, but it's like I didn't know it in my body, so I really knew it in my body that I'm like, I'm watching it happen. My health deteriorate when my food is still the same. So giving up that shop, and we moved north to change my lifestyle, so moved up to the Northern Rivers. So there was a lot of giving up there, and then I guess moving on to like a different aspect, that's more like the physical side of, I guess, awakening to different ways of being. And then on the emotional side, for me, it was giving up this idea that I need to do it all on my own. So there's been big lessons for me in the last few years around relationship, and I've never had a long-term relationship. So all of my relationships, romantic relationships, have been 6 months, 12 months max, and I think only once with Dylan's dad. So other than that, they've been a few months, and I have just known. Like, that's not the person for me. And I can't keep going. Like, it's not in me. I can't possibly do it.
Listen up, ladies.
Yeah, I know.
Don't force
I might drag it out a bit too long, but overall, never years. Like, I might kind of break up. Oh, maybe they were the one, because now I kind of want them again. And I'll go back there and no, they're definitely not. Okay, I'll leave again. So that, it still wasn't perfectly, I'm so clear and I'm out of there with strength. No, it was still a bit of back and forth and all those kinds of things. But I could never have stayed long term. Like, I just knew this is not right. This is not the person for me. And so then there has been like years of like, what's wrong with me? And then a year ago, I'm like, I'm 35 and I've never been in a long-term relationship. Like, what is going on? Why is that? Like, why is there something wrong with me, or is it just that they've never been the one? And I still don't know the answer to that. And when I say something wrong with me, something I need to work through. Am I blocking this? Like, is there a fear? So for a long time, I've been trying to work through anything like that that's coming up. And about 2 years ago, I set this intention where I
like that word.
Yes, a very strong one, and I'm a manifestor. So when I set an intention, it's like it happens. So I set an intention and went, right, I am ready to meet the man for me. Like, I know there's some lessons I got to learn here. There's some shit I've got to work through. Bring it. Like, I'm ready. Beautiful. Bring me the lessons. I'll do all the things. I won't run away from it, because I've always been a runner as well. I'm like, I don't like how my life's looking. I'm going to move 500 kilometers away, and then maybe my life will be better there in that town where the grass is greener. Maybe that will work better.
I've always wanted to go there.
So I was like, right, I'm not going to run. I'm going to face it. Whatever it is, bring it. Like, I'm ready to meet the person. So I'm ready to work through all the stuff and go through whatever I need to go through to get to that point. And then about 6 months later, I guess 6 to 12 months later, I did end up meeting someone, and we did have a bit of a thing going on, and it was one of the most stressful and horrible experiences of my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was, really, really full on experience with him, and just like it was glaringly obvious the patterns that I was doing.
So it was a test run.
Yeah. So it just...
You asked.
I asked, and it was delivered.
Yeah, wow.
So, and it all came like with this stressful experience with him, basically very dishonest, all that kind of stuff going on. And at the same time, I got a tapeworm infection.
Oh, wow.
And a staph infection, because this was when I was traveling around. So I got, like really bad skin infection and tapeworm. I lost huge amounts of weight.
Wow.
So I got really, really skinny. My mental health
everything was just
plummeted.
declining.
Yeah, it was quite bad actually. So, and
You
no one really knows about this. So
Yeah.
there's like, it's interesting to look back on my Instagram, and there's like, I don't know if you've looked at the reels I've done dancing, particularly Kathy, Cara,
Yes.
and stuff like
Yes.
that. And some of those, I was in the worst times
Yeah.
of my life.
Yeah.
Kathy knew, and
Yeah.
dancing with her was always, such an uplifting
Yeah.
thing. But I don't know, when you look closely, you can see me get really, really skinny.
Yeah.
So it was like the end of 2021. My mental health was so bad. We had to move in with my friends, and they were looking after Dylan and getting him to school.
Yeah.
Because I pretty much couldn't leave the house.
Yeah.
And then we had to go stay with my parents.
Yeah.
And they were like ready to like, what are we going to do
Yeah.
with her?
Yeah.
Like, because this is not okay.
Yeah.
And so, I guess it was a combination of what had been going on in my life with this person, as well as tapeworm infection and like staph skin infection, so bad all over my body.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Did you know you had the tapeworm?
Or I didn't know I had the tapeworm.
Okay, 'cause that's,
and then that was a very trying time in the sense of watching my mental health decline, knowing what a bad state I was in, and thinking I'm more resilient than this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've been through stuff, like, and it's not like, because to me, like, a relationship not working out, even in really intense ways, I'm like, wouldn't you, like, I'd be upset, but not like this. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me at the time. And then once I learned about the tapeworm infection and Barmer forest virus, which is a bit like Ross River.
Right.
So it's like I just got
Everything at once.
absolutely bombarded. And I found it so interesting that it's like, it's not a coincidence that all this stuff went on with my health and emotionally all at one time. I don't know, it felt a bit like a purge to me to go into the depths of darkness, really. It threw me right down the bottom. And then have to bring myself back up out of that. And as I was coming back out of that, I'm like, right, I'm not doing that again. Like, there were signs I knew right at the outset of even moving towards this relationship that it wasn't right. Yeah. That it wasn't the right thing to do. My body told me. I had like clear feelings within my body, and I ignored them.
Wow.
Yeah. And like, there were signs that this was not safe, and I didn't trust myself, and I went there anyway. Yeah. And so it was like, I'm not doing this again. Yeah. And so then I did a lot of work. So we were living back, like we'd moved back to the Northern Rivers then after all of our traveling. And I just started like all the books that I was reading and just really diving into the self-work. And I went to a retreat that, I don't know, Helen might have spoken about it when she was here. It's called Path of Love.
Yeah.
She did.
She did, yeah. I'm sure she would have. She raves about it.
She loved that. She got a lot out of that too.
She did, yeah. So I went to that in the July, and that was massively transformational. So I'd already had 6 months of kind of pulling myself back out of the hole. Yeah. By the time I went to Path of Love. And it's really interesting because when I left Path of Love, Liam, we've actually known each other for like 3 years. He's my best friend's brother-in-law.
Oh.
Yeah, which is quite funny. So yeah, I've known him for a while, and I went to Path of Love, and there's not much you can't say a lot about Path of Love, because it's like you're not meant to really speak a heap about it.
Yeah.
So that people can experience it for themselves, but it's massively transformational, and it's like if you want to do the work on yourself,
Yeah.
you're doing it there.
Yeah.
It's very like practical, deep.
Yeah.
Like you get in there and work through your stuff.
Face your shit.
Face your shit. Exactly what happens.
The name of it kind of resonates
Yeah,
so
does.
beautifully.
Yeah. But the name of it makes it sound, oh, Path of Love. That sounds dreamy.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Love
Well,
hearts and roses and stuff. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's like, are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Liam there?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So, so, and when I like working through that, and that was a big thing that came up for me, this like opening to a relationship, and that was one of the feedback I got, is that it seemed like I just have this wall around here, you know, just like about, you know, half a meter away from my body, like this barrier of like, I'll just keep everybody back here, and like still open and loving, but not like not open really,
as full as you could
like,
be,
not really letting anybody in. So that was a big thing to work through for me, is working through that, and then just really setting strong intentions. I was really clear with what kind of person I would let in, and what kind of relationship I would let in, and how that would feel and how that would look. And it was visceral, like I was feeling it in my body, this is how it would feel. This is how it would feel when I'm with them. This is how we would communicate with each other, and how that would feel. And yeah, when I left Path of Love, like Liam was one of the, like I messaged him like, I don't know, a few days after I'd left, and he was just really on my mind.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we were just friends, like, but obviously not.
But isn't it beautiful how you're in that space of coming out of Path of Love and all that work, and
that's the first person you
viscerally
think
knowing what it is that you're wanting, and he's one of the first people you think about.
But it was still a few months until we did get together, but it was all very, like, I just felt so different in going towards it, in that I was very released of outcome. Like I was like, oh, whatever happens. I'm like, there's no way I'm ever like pushing a relationship again, or really trying, you know. I didn't want that sense of like
giving yourself away. Or like desiring it so much that you start like just moving too strongly towards it, or it's going to fulfill something in you.
Exactly.
Like you're missing something and you needed this.
So I guess I was more receptive. I was just like, whatever will be.
Beautiful.
Like I'm actually going to go with the flow of it and just see how it unfolds. So it took a few months.
Because you're also like an organizer as well, like to not organize this part of you and just allow it to happen. So Helen would be like, what's going on with Liam? I'm like, nothing. We're just friends. I don't know. She'd be like, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Like, so he comes over all the time. I'm like, but we just hang out. She's like, right.
Oh, that's so sweet.
So it was a little while, and then finally we both woke up to it.
That's beautiful.
That's really beautiful.
And it is all those things that I intended it to be. It is, with beautiful communication and just so loving,
soft and gentle introduction to life together.
You can tell that. You can feel that through you can feel that through your posts and everything. It's really beautiful. It's like you've been together for a long time,
and that's what it feels like. Once as soon as it happened, that's it. We were like together every day from then on. That's so beautiful. I love that
incubation.
And
then burst.
Burst absolutely
into life.
So and it just feels so easy.
It's pretty perfect for our next question, because
it's
I think it's going to be, first of all, how do you support yourself now in your work and life and all of that, and then what does 2023 hold for Elyse, Dylan and Liam? The tribe.
Yes, I know, the tribe. So how I support myself is knowing my boundaries and trying my best to honor them. And also the newest thing is fully letting someone else in and knowing I don't have to do things on my own. So that's been a really big one.
That's a big trust thing, isn't it? Wow.
just seeking the support when I need it as well. So like saying what it is that I need. And I guess like being in a really committed long-term relationship is new for me. Yeah. But it's amazing.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Because that, when you're saying about boundaries, but also knowing you don't have to do it all by yourself and being able to ask for support, that's a very healthy ebb and flow in itself, isn't it? Being able to say no, being able to be open and vulnerable, to be strong, to receive, you get that whole kind of
picture. It's the whole, it's almost like the full circle.
It just in the way you're describing it, again, it's the wholeness of relationship with yourself as well as with another.
And then just in like the basic things, like I get up and I do yoga every morning, and we spend time in nature, and we spend time at the beach, and we spend time connecting, and I spend like really good quality time with Dylan and really good quality time with Liam. Like there's, lots of good quality time with all the things in my life.
That fulfill you as well as them. That's beautiful. That's so beautiful.
And because you make it sound easy, but we know you're also extremely busy.
Yes, I know.
I don't mean easy, but you know, like leisurely. That's what I mean.
Yes, absolutely. I want to ask another question at the end, which is not on the list.
Okay.
But so what does 2023 hold for you?
2023, there's growth in my business. So we've just launched a new program, but we haven't told anyone about it. It's a funny way to launch it.
This will go to air in about 4 weeks. So.
Okay, that's fine. Probably we will have put it out publicly by then. At the moment, it's just going to current clients and people who have done programs with our clinic, or
clients.
People who have done things with our clinic before. So it's just going to them so far. So that's big for us. It's a membership portal. It's called Gut Rehab, because we will have already advertised it by the time you're listening. And so that's it's totally changing the way we work with our clients. So it's a really big shift in our clinic. Then also products. So we will be expanding our product range. And then Liam and I have a program up our sleeve. So I'm sure that'll come in 2023. And then just lots of focus on my family. Because now I have a little family unit. So
will your family grow at all?
Yeah, it will.
Oh.
Yeah, it will.
Yay, that's another world premiere.
It's on the cards. It's definitely on the cards.
That's so beautiful.
And we've bought a property, so we'll move into that probably this year, if not next year. So, and that will have opportunities for retreats.
I was going to say, will it just be a family home or expansion for retreats? Excellent.
As well,
And I have no doubt that it will be successful. Listening to you today, it's like with your attitude and your drive and passion, it's
I just get a sense of like, because that entrepreneurial part of yourself, like all these experiences are culminating in this point and flowing forward with all this amazing intention that you have and knowledge that you have.
Absolutely.
And abundance, that deep abundance is,
it's around her, isn't
it? You really feel that meeting you really do.
Thank you.
This is totally off track, but totally on track with you. Just for the listeners and for me, if there was one little bit of advice that you could give for all of us around our bodies.
I've already got it.
Yeah, fantastic. Throw it to us.
It would be to learn to manage your stress.
Okay.
So if you are not actively doing something right now to take care of your nervous system, then it is fried. Like we just live in modern day life, we're exposed to that much stimulation and everything's so driven at stressing us out that if you are not actively working on your parasympathetic nervous system, then you're in a sympathetic state.
Wow.
So it's like that's our natural state now.
Yes.
Because living this kind of
so
lifestyle.
True, yes.
So we have to actively work at bringing ourselves into that parasympathetic nervous system state. So understanding the way stress impacts on us and that is our main health issue.
Okay.
So it's not nutrition.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not our main health issues. Our absolute main health issue is stress. And that if we weren't so stressed, we wouldn't be so impacted by nutrition.
Yes.
It wouldn't play that big of a role. So if you look at the blue zones, I had this conversation with someone the other day when they're like, but in the blue zones, they don't eat that much meat and they do eat grains and they do eat some sugar and
is this a pyramid or
blue
whatever?
zones. Blue zones are the areas in the world where the most people live over 90 and 100. So it's like you get most centenarians there. And so they've been studied quite extensively as to what are the reasons that these people live the longest,
not just
healthiest,
because of the root
happiest
crops
life.
or the seaweed.
Yeah. So why are these people living a long time? There's places like Okinawa in Japan and Ikaria in Greece.
Wow.
If anyone follows Marcus Pearce, him and Damien Christoph take people over to Ikaria. Yeah, they're legends.
Love Marcus.
So, yeah. And there's like somewhere in the States as well. It's like a...
is it around Sedona or
yeah.
I know what you mean.
Yeah. And they're what people is it? The
Amish.
Amish.
Oh,
yes.
wow.
So
Yeah.
Amish.
Not Sedona.
Yeah.
Amish.
So
people.
it's blue zones is those areas of the world. Why do they live so long? Let's find all the reasons. And there's like 9 factors that are listed, and then like about purpose and community and movement and nutrition are in there, but there's so much about other areas of your life.
Yeah.
Like having good community connection and purpose are really big in there. So yeah, I had a discussion with someone the other day about this, and they're like, well, they eat grains and they don't eat much meat, and like if anyone follows what I do, I am a GAPS practitioner, and we do like eat a lot of meat and remove grains when following a diet like that. And one thing is that we're trying to heal damage, so when it comes to that, does look different, and by doing something like the GAPS protocol, you're actually aiming to move back to a place where you can eat a broad range of things and not react to them.
Yeah.
But there's also the fact that it's stress. Like that's what's playing the bigger role here, because if we weren't so stressed, then we have more resilience. So we have a better window of tolerance. If we aren't filling it all up with stress. So basically, when you're stressed all the time, when your nervous system is in that sympathetic state all the time, that causes like a snowball of chemicals in your body, of stress chemicals, stress hormones that impact on everything. When you're stressed, you'll notice that you might get a funny feeling in your tummy, you might get sweaty palms, even your vision becomes like tunneled and highly hyper focused. Blood flows to your brain, blood flows away from your organs and it flows out to your extremities. When that happens, nothing's there focusing on healing, repairing, taking care of all of this area of your organ systems. And then that's where chronic disease happens. So no wonder, like if we're stressed all the time and then we're like shoving food in our mouth, we're not digesting it properly. So we're not producing saliva and getting all the amylase and things happening there. And then our digestive enzymes and stomach acid in the stomach. Then our stomach acid's too low. Then we end up with SIBO, and then we end up constipated, and then our liver's not happy. It all snowballs from there. That's like this picture of stress. And of course we're going to end up with digestive issues and gut issues, and gut microbiome gets imbalanced really quickly by stress. And so it's like that to me, if you are hyper focused on getting your diet perfect yet stress is just rampant, you are totally like climbing the tree to try and get the fruit right from the top. Like lowest hanging fruit, the thing
the
that
wrong
is
tree even.
you're in the wrong tree. There's no fruit in that tree. So but there is in that you will see some kind of result, but I love analogies, but you're paddling against the tide. Like you're actually going the absolute hardest way about it to get some kind of result. When really stress, like focus on reducing that, how your nervous system is coping with things, and then that has that then impact down the line everything else that's going on in your system, hormones, everything.
And it's just listening to you now, it's like that retraction thing that we've been talking about a lot. So I think when you talk about that, I think stress to me means retraction, or like holding your breath, or
can usually drink.
Well, I do it all the time. I pour it out here.
I do that too.
So
I'm
I
just
think
so
straight away-
relaxed.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
are,
even
which is great.
focused.
You know, everything's
You're
contracted,
parasympathetic.
kind of thing. Everything's contracted, like held in. So nothing's flow. There's no flow in there. That's what I think of straight away. And then I think of the world that everybody's been living in the last few years.
Yeah.
It's like there's been no flow whatsoever. So it's like
Well, it's
the
not your own
amount of
flow.
stress
It's
that
a-
we are all under has just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
And when a kinesiologist, if you say, for example, hold something that's not in your body doesn't resonate with, you can't hold your strength. When you think of the word stress, and a kinesiologist will test you, you can't hold your strength. Like stress is a physical resonance in your system. It's not just a word. And I can remember a lot of dialogue around the word stress a few years ago, and you know, people poo-pooing it as it not being a real state or a real experience for the person or the body. And you just go, and it's just, it's that crazy, isn't it? You know, there's so many ways you can test stress in the body, but as you're saying, the physical expression that the body or the space that the body can't hold when you're under stress. And it's not just about deadlines at work or things like that. It's the overload of stimulants and things that we have in our everyday, you know.
So I like to talk about it in like brainwave states as well, and that gives people a better understanding of, it's like, oh, I'm not stressed, like nothing's worrying me right now, but it's like, how's your brainwave state? Like beta brainwaves is your thinking, planning, doing, like active brainwave state, and alpha is a calmer, more like daydreamy, like you might go into alpha while you're meditating. Just before you fall asleep, you'll go to alpha first. So it's more of that daydreamy brainwave state. So if you think of it like that while you're in beta, you're pretty much in a sympathetic state. Don't necessarily have to be. You can still think, plan, and do and not be in a sympathetic state. But when we're just in beta brainwave all the time, you are going to be in a parasympathetic state, and you're teaching your brain to always be active, doing, thinking, planning, and then not going into that alpha brainwave state gives our brain a chance to relax, things to like reorganize and align themselves. If we don't do that during the day, we do it at nighttime. And that's why we wake up in the night and have a million things running through our head. Like your brain's trying to get to some kind of reorganizing itself, and you know, it's got to kind of recharge as well. And there's lots of things it needs to process. So and I heard some kind of a statistic that it's like the amount of stimulation we currently have in one day is equivalent to what someone 100 years ago would have had in their lifetime.
Amazing.
Oh,
And when you think about that, it's not an exaggeration, because it's like, if you think of someone that just like lives on the land, you know, tills the fields, whatever you do when you live on the land. Hopefully I'll be doing it one day.
Soon.
And, you know, one day soon. And, you know, not leaving the house every day, like just getting up and life is there, compared to, think of the level of stimulation we've had by the time we drive out our driveway. Like of our phone, our television, our like, so when you start adding it all up, it actually does make sense that it is ridiculous how much more stimulation we have, even to like driving from A to B. Every car that comes past, every pedestrian you've got to look at, everything in your peripheries, everything you're driving past, every sign on the side of the road, every bit of stimulation. Like when you say it's what someone 100 years ago would have had in a lifetime, that makes sense.
Because they wouldn't have had any of that.
They wouldn't, none.
Well,
Like,
they could write letters and wait for weeks for a reply, whereas now we send a text, and if
text,
we don't get it back in a second,
you think
we're
of how much
stressing.
communication we have in a day.
And I'm just like, all of those things you've just talked about, and then let's add in that nothing's love and happiness and joy and blissful. All of that's fear-based. You know, if you're turning on the TV, 99% of that's fear-based. You know, it's like, it's not like we're receiving amazing messages saying you're amazing, you're beautiful, have a great day. You know, it's like
it's fear.
it's fear. So that's another.
Or you need to do this, you need to buy this, you need to do that, or you need to,
if you don't do this, you're not going to be good enough,
way,
blah,
or
blah,
this
blah, blah,
is the way you do things, rather than, as you say, in the alpha state where you're listening into yourself and calibrating yourself and your own flow and your own rhythm. There's none of that in the media or social world or the out there world.
So cool. Thank you so much for coming on.
So that was a
Pleasure.
big little question, Jo.
It was a big little question. I thought it was
No.
important because I think a
I'm-
lot of people need to know this stuff. Yeah.
I'm not one for short answers.
No, and that's
We like
perfect.
that.
We loved it. We loved it. We loved it. We loved it. If
Yeah.
anybody wants to find more about Elyse and the
Well Belly Health Clinic.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's a little bit tricky to say, isn't
Yeah,
it?
but
But
it's
it's
fun
fun.
to
to
say.
It's fun to
say.
say,
I love
yeah.
saying it.
Well
Yeah.
belly.
Yeah.
And I love
Well
your,
belly.
your
Yeah.
skits on your socials and
Yes.
because retreats. You've already been running a lot of retreats,
Yeah.
but there's more to come.
Yeah.
isn't
Yeah,
there?
there's one coming up in May.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting.
Very
I will
exciting.
pop all of that at the end of this podcast.
Great.
So everybody can reach out and connect up with Elyse. And check out Elise's Instagram because it's so fantastic at the moment. She's
There's a lot of knowledge there.
supporting Liam
Yeah.
on his journey to a healthy gut.
A lot of knowledge,
Yeah.
a lot of laughs.
Yeah.
Yes. No, less stress and a lot of
Yes.
love.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been really
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Elyse.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Such a joy. Thank you for listening, and remember all links to our guest are in the notes. Leave us a comment here or message us on Instagram how our guest today connected with you, or perhaps something you wish to share. A special thank you to the blissful Ksenia Luki for our theme song. Jo and I will be with you next week.
Bye.
Ciao.
She teaches me lessons, and boy does she sing. Her voice sways like a hummingbird, flies like a shooting star. She whispers, "You are."